I've heard that from multiple folks across various positionalities, if I say it that way, undergrad, grad, staff, faculty. The polarization is real. We know people are not hearing when they cannot, when they're at a different polar end.
Brick by brick, wall by wall. Brick by brick, wall by wall. Israel will fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall. Israel will fall.
I care about what's happening in Pro-Palestine. I think, if someone's committing a whole genocide, I think that's not a war anymore.
Right, exactly.
That's not a war anymore.
I don't understand why.
Well, it's because it's written in a book that was 4,000 years ago. Someone wrote a book and it's like, oh, well, the book says it, so it has to be right.
Yeah.
Protests at Columbia University over the crisis in the Middle East.
It's from the river to the sea.
I care about what's happening in Pro-Palestine.
So you agree with us then? So you're on the same level?
I think, if someone's committing a whole genocide, I think that's not a war anymore.
Right, exactly.
That's not a war anymore.
Why they even do it? I don't understand why they even consider continuing it, right, when they know it's...
Well, it's because it's written in a book that was 4,000 years ago. Someone wrote a book and it's like, oh, well, the book says it, so it has to be right. They're painting a picture of like, hi, we're the victims, we're committing a whole genocide, but we're the victims.
Yeah.
I think these people are just terrorists and we're just trying to get rid of them.
Who's the real terrorist?
Yeah, I think it's them because they're committing crimes that are defined as terrorists, but they just...
Israel,
yeah.
I agree, yeah.
School needs to step up and just be on the right side of history and call out the Zionists. And
I don't think they're going to do that, though. I think they're pro-Israel.
really,
Yeah, based off of I just ignore the emails now because I'm like, you can clearly tell you're being really biased in your language. Like smart, being smart in a way where you can't really call them out on it, but you can kind of tell they're being really biased.
Is this just like internal emails?
I think they're more like for employees. It's like, oh, we need to solve the conflict between students and this is what we should do, this and that. But then at the same time, the title says Israel, Hamas conflict. I'm like, well, you're supposed to call it Israel and Palestine.
Yes.
Conflict.
Zionist government.
Yeah, or Zionist government versus Hamas, whatever. It's called. You gotta say that. You can't use Israel and then,
their choice of words.
Their choice of words is what really gets me. But a lot of people like to focus on how Europe didn't treat them well, so then they have to go back to their homeland, and then they were kicked out of their homeland to begin with. That's why they migrated to Europe, and now they're migrating back to Europe.
And now they're all here too.
Yeah.
They're all in America. Right?
Yeah.
They're all New Jersey, New York.
Yeah, but there's some New Yorkers that go back to Israel, and did you see that video with like a born Jewish, he's obviously Jewish, he was born in New York City, his family's been here for generations, but he went to Israel and bought a Palestinian woman's home. And now he's living in it because it's his by right, because the book that was written 4,000 years ago.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Like, your family's been in New York City for generations. You don't really, so you just form a country in 1948 and then just like, okay, yeah, this is like our birthright. You weren't even alive 4,000 years ago.
What about events that are just mainly focused on like pro-Palestinian stuff?
Well, the thing is that, so we've had events, so they invite speakers. We had a big event with a speaker not so long ago. Very well attended, and it was with Rashid Khalidi.
We have an anti-Semitism task force. They pick bigots and fanatics and right-wingers and extremists and people who have attacked students to be on an anti-Semitism task force. It's a scandal.
Oh, really?
Columbia? Yeah. So the last event was titled Palestine is a Feminist and Queer Anti-Imperialist-Abolition Struggle. So this Dr. Nadine Nabor is a professor from Women and Gender Studies.
I've been at protests where I'm then told, don't you know what Hamas would do to you if you were in Palestine? And we have to start naming this actually as homophobic.
Indeed, the practices of rape and sexual assault that have been well documented during the founding of Israel. continue today are not an exception or a secondary impact of colonial violence, but are part of the settler colonial white supremacist logics and practices of Israel.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.